Hi everyone. In this episode, we discuss suicide. Please stop the episode here if you prefer not to listen to this topic.
Welcome to It's All Mental, a podcast from Everyturn Mental Health. Mental isn't a bad word. There's no health without mental health. We're here to talk about every high and low. No limits, just good conversations.
Hello everyone, I'm joined today by Jayne Walsham, who lost her daughter Jodie to suicide in 2021. Following that, Jayne has become an advocate for suicide awareness and is involved with the Baton of Hope, which is around raising awareness for suicide awareness and helping people who are contemplating suicide or people who are bereaved by suicide. So Jayne, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to just hand over to you first to tell us all about Jodie and Jodie's story.
Hello, good morning, Adam. Thank you for asking me to do this podcast this morning. Yes, Jodie. Jodie was 23. She took her own life in January 2021, just after the pandemic. I do believe that the pandemic had a massive impact on the reason why. But Jodie was, as a young girl, we have a 3-tier system here in Northumberland, and Jodie went to school in Cumshoff, wonderful little school. She was just Jodie. They then go on to middle school at the age of 9. When Jodie hit middle school, I think that's when she realised she was maybe slightly different to other children, and she was faced with 500 children she didn't know, and she didn't want to stand out. And I believe that was the period when Jodie started to consciously or unconsciously to mask and try to fit in and be like everybody else, which when somebody who has ADHD or autism, which we didn't know at the time, can have a huge impact on mental health, anxiety, that type of thing. Jodie became difficult in the house, at home, with her dad and I. Outside the home, she didn't seem any different. She was fine. She fitted in school, no problem. She had lots of friends. Asked our GP when Jodie was about 9 or 10 for help, and I was literally told, you need to discipline Jodie more in the home, and that was it, end of subject. Battled through. Jodie went on to high school. We did have difficult times, I won't lie. And then she went off to university, and Jodie seemed to find herself at university again. She became who she was again. She became herself, the way she dressed, that type. It was her way of expressing herself. And I think that was what Jodie needed. Jodie also needed, we learned when she was at university and when she went travelling, that purpose and stability was a massive part of Jodie keeping her mental health on a certain level. When she was at uni, she went to the gym, she walked to uni, she had regimented meals, she prepared a meal, she did everything right to keep her mental health on the right level. When she went travelling doesn't really have purpose and stability because you're all over the place, and that didn't suit Jodie. So she really did struggle when she first started travelling. Her dad went out, she settled down a bit, and then they actually settled, and she was doing some volunteer work for about 4 months, and that worked. Jodie was back on track again, and she was able to cope. Jodie came home just before we went into lockdown in March 2020. We did take her down to the GP, and she did refer Jodie, and she got a referral straight away, which was unusual. But then lockdown happened, and there was nothing happened. She got the odd phone call. But Jodie knew a lot about mental health. She did a dissertation on mental health, and she said to mental health services, before you do anything, you need to start diagnosis with me. You need to know what's wrong with me before you can start to help me. So they started the typical tick box paper, and literally she ticked every box for ADHD and ASD. which I couldn't believe, because my perception of ADHD and autism was completely different to what in reality it is and can be, especially in female girls. So yes, it was a case of she just struggled through lockdown. She had the amazing ability to lift herself, Jodie, and that would have been the ADHD side. And she decided she needed a job, so she applied for jobs. She got several. Was choosing which job she decided she wanted to take, because she was going to work in schools mentoring children, and the government announced that the schools wouldn't be opening in September. So then the job went on hold, to be fair. It wasn't stopped, but Jodie didn't say it like that. It was just the job went. So Jodie's mental health took a dip again. She then found a job in Glasgow, and we moved her into Glasgow. We got a flat for her and made sure she had somewhere to live. And then she started the job, I think it was on the 14th to 15th of December 2020. And then Scotland went into second lockdown. So literally the job went, and Jodie's mental health took a dip. A few other things happened. So she was literally in Glasgow for about 4 or 5 weeks before she took her own life. Jodie was a very creative person. She sang, she danced, she could draw. Yeah, that's who Jodie was. She was very empathic. And I think when you talk about somebody who was empathic, we can all have empathy. We can be taught to have empathy, I believe. You've got to learn to care for people. And being empathic is a different thing. She felt other people's pain. She did. And that was a huge burden on her. Having autism and ADHD, I believe Jodie was, in ways, Jodie was very wise. She was older than her years, but she was also very vulnerable and naive in many things as well. She saw the world in rose-tinted glasses, I think. She always saw the good in people. So yeah, that was Jodie.
A wonderful person by the sounds of it, and I've seen on the Baton of Hope website some great photographs of Jodie while she was volunteering over Vietnam, and it looks like a very bright soul.
Mm-hmm. She was all our friends used to say she was the life and soul of the party, and she just, there was two sides to Jodie. There was one side that wanted to be the normal 2.4 children, three-bedroom suburban house, normal life, but the other side of her brain just wouldn't allow that. She liked the festival. She liked to bang. Do you know what I mean? And she needed that side to cope with the other side. And when those two were out of balance, that's when things went wrong.
So if you don't mind me asking, then let's going back to that January 2021 when Jodie took her own life, and just what the impact of that was on you and the family, and the process you went through, really.
Yeah, it was weird, because we were in lockdown basically. Family could, when we found out, it was a friend of Jodie's that actually phoned us. Police didn't tell us. Nobody. It was a friend that phoned us up to say Jodie had passed away. When the police eventually came a few hours later, obviously the Glasgow police had got in touch with Northumberland police type of thing. And yeah, they were here for about 5 minutes. That was it, and they left. And that is the last contact we had with any authorities or anything like that. Nothing. We didn't even know where Jodie was. Yeah, I think I kind of blanked out. I wasn't listening to things, what was going on around me. Having to tell the family was, well, you can imagine. It's Jodie has a half brother and sister to her dad, who are much older than Jodie. They were adults when Jodie was born. So massive impact on them. And their children were kind of Jodie's age. So yeah, you can imagine the impact it had on them. It's difficult. Yeah, it's just how to explain what I can't really remember it that much, to be fair. I think I just went into a calm mode. I know, you know, my anxiety when Jodie was poorly was sky high, and I struggled myself. But after Jodie died, it was as if, no, everything was. I don't worry anymore. I have no worry, because the worst thing that can ever happen to a person has happened, and my anxiety levels are down. I just don't worry anymore, because there is nothing to worry. I don't think I've grieved yet. Certainly, I haven't even started facing it. I think I have some sort of complicated grief where my brain is just switched off. Because otherwise, why am I sitting here today talking to you like this, as if nothing's? Do you know what I mean? I function very, very well, and I never imagined if something like losing a child, I would be able to do that, because, yeah, it's just, it's very strange. It's very strange. I actually feel. People always keep saying, you know, oh, you're marvellous, Jayne, you're strong. No, you're not. You just carry on. I don't know how I carry on. I really don't. Jodie was my life, my whole life. Without her, to me, I've got nothing. But going to suicide prevention and trying to help other people not go through what Jodie went through is what makes me carry on. It's what I get out of bed in the morning for. So yeah, we're not a huge family. So there's, you know, my father, Jodie's granddad, he died a few years ago, and this is going to sound awful. I'm so pleased he's not here, because that would have been, that would have caused him so much pain. But yeah, it's strange how it affects families. Can't even describe it, to be fair.
And I know when we met previously, you said that your aim now is not really around that, helping those that have been through and lost and bereavement through suicide. You know, there's other people doing that.
Yeah.
Your aim is to stop
people being bereaved. That's what
your aim is to stop there being Jodies. Yeah,
because, you know, Jodie's, she could have had a beautiful life. She was a lovely person. It's so wrong and it's so unfair that she's not going to get to live her life. And okay, I'm bereaved, and yeah, my life's gone, but that's not Jodie's fault. People don't take their own life to be selfish. You know, taking your own life has got to be one of the hardest things anybody can ever do. It is our basic instinct to stay alive. So you have to be in huge turmoil and to believe that your loved ones will be better off without you, because that's basically what it is. And it's just so unfair, and so many young people like Jodie. And I do believe there's a huge connection between ADHD, ASD, neurodiversity, and suicide. And I don't think there's enough that looks into it. I see that the Psychiatry UK have just suspended on you choosing your referral, which is a bit worrying. But yeah, it's something I think needs to be looked into massively, and it's not. But yeah, I'm more about stopping people
it
rather than helping people who are bereaved like myself. Yeah.
And can I ask you then about stigma? Because stigma is there's a lot of stigma in the world of suicide, and people are afraid sometimes to talk about it for fear of saying the wrong thing, or being clumsy with language, or saying things incorrectly. As a parent who has lost a child, have you felt that stigma, and have you had to overcome that?
Yeah, I think people are scared to say anything to me. Not my close friends, no. I'm very open about talking about suicide, and even the WI in the village, who are absolutely horrified that I actually even say the word. They regularly get talked to about suicide and to help their grandchildren and that type of thing. But But yeah, I have had people who I've known for decades who find it very difficult to converse with me anymore. I've seen people walk across the street from me. And then I've people who I've known for many years, but wouldn't have classed them as friends or even neighbours. They've been amazing. And it's what I have found since losing Jodie is people that I have known for many years, and I'm talking decades, who will now say to me, "Oh, my boyfriend took his own life. My father took his own life. Yeah, I never knew about that." So it is opening up. I think I'm probably a bit of a bore now, that I literally, that's what I talk about now. I can't help it. I've got nothing else to talk about. So, yeah, I do preach to people. I do talk constantly about suicide prevention, about that type of thing. So people are more open to talking to me about it. And I think that's opening it up across the board, because that's what we need to do. Because stigma is what is pushing mental health suicide under the carpet, and it has done for decades.
Good segue then into talking about Beacon of Hope, which is that thing around raising.
It's the Baton of Hope.
Baton, sorry, my apologies. The Baton of Hope.
Yeah.
Looks like a beacon. That's probably why I've got it wrong. It looks the Baton of Hope, which is what you've been involved in. Tell us a little bit about the Baton of Hope.
Right. Well, the Baton of Hope, Mike McCarthy and Steve Phillip, actually, they co-founded the Baton of Hope. They both lost their sons, Ross and Jordan, to suicide. Mike lost his son Ross about 4 weeks after we lost Jodie, actually. And I first saw Mike on the television talking about Ross a couple of weeks after he'd lost Ross. And Ross had left him a letter saying that, please, Dad, do something to help people, because nothing's being done. And Mike is an ex-BBC and Sky News reporter, so he had the connection. So him and Steve Phillips got together to discuss what they could do. In the meantime, a mutual friend on connection on LinkedIn, I was chatting to him, and he said to me, "What do you want to do?" And I says, "I want to march on London." I says, "I want to get every family bereaved to suicide, friends, everybody, and literally march in London and say, look, all these people have lost somebody." So he put me in touch with Mike anyway. So that's how I got involved. And because I'm up in the north here, they asked me to be project lead for Newcastle. We literally did 12 cities in 12 days. We started in Glasgow, down to Edinburgh, Newcastle, Sheffield, Manchester, Belfast, Cardiff, Brighton, Bristol, Milton Keynes, and London. And they did 12 days. I only did 2. I did the Newcastle one and London. Due to work, I just couldn't make them all. But yeah, it was pretty special. In Newcastle, we had our route was about 18, 19 mile long, and we had 50 people bereaved to suicide carry the baton. And they said they felt as if somebody was listening. Yes, we are able to announce, yes, we lost somebody to suicide, and I'm showing the world that I'm here supporting and remembering my loved one. So yeah, it was pretty special in Newcastle. We had 9 events in one day, which was quite challenging, and the weather was terrible. It rained all day. We ended up at St James's Park, which was yeah, that was quite a special place to have our 10-pole event. But yes, it's Baton of Hope. You will hear more of it. This is just the beginning. This is the first time anything's been done like this. And yes, we had teething troubles, as you can imagine. 12 cities, 12 days, 12 project leads, a whole organising committee. And yeah, it was huge, absolutely massive. But yeah, I think we're having a meeting to see where we're going next.
And if anyone wants to get any further information, do a search for Baton of Hope, not Beacon of Hope, Baton of Hope, and there's a website there, which has got lots of examples and stories of people, but also lots of information around the great work. So Thank you for being a part of that.
Yeah.
I'm going to wrap up our discussion with one final question for you, Jayne, which is just around the message of hope. So from Batons of Hope into Messages of Hope, what's your message of hope to somebody who's contemplating or thinking about taking their own life?
Yeah, hope is if you haven't got hope, then you haven't got life. And it doesn't matter what you've been through, what you've gone through, what you've done, whatever, there is always hope. And if you can get over that moment in time where you're feeling suicidal, while you're feeling so, talk to somebody. Please don't do it on your own. Talk to somebody, a friend. If you can't talk to family, talk to a friend, a neighbour, a stranger, anybody. And it's just about believe that there is hope and there's still life. Your story's not ended. You know, the semicolon says that your story's not over. Just have hope that there is life, and you can go on to have a very happy and fulfilling life.
Everyone that I've spoken to during these conversations have come up with a very similar message of hope, and it's centered around that piece of don't make a permanent decision for could be a temporary issue or a temporary situation that you're in. Don't take that piece of that real permanent decision that you can't come back from, because there's hope there.
Yes, there is hope, and yeah, we don't end your life just for doesn't matter what you've been through, what you've done, there is hope, always hope.
Jayne, thank you so much for just your honesty and for this discussion and sharing Jodie's story and keeping Jodie's memory alive, because like I said, a vibrant, wonderful individual, and you know, we need to keep people's stories going, don't we, and keep talking about people, and that's really important.
Keep talking about them, and I've heard from other parents to say, especially mothers, you're terrified people are going to forget them, and when nobody will forget them, but keep talking, do what they wanted you to do. Jodie's message to me was, go live your life, Mum. She knew I wanted to travel. I haven't quite got there yet. I'm not quite, I can't leave the village yet, but one day maybe. But yes, keep talking about them, and it's the only way we're going to break the stigma. Just
Keep talking. Jayne, thank you so much. Thanks again.
It's a pleasure, Adam. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to It's All Mental, a podcast from Everyturn Mental Health. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to follow, rate and share. See you next time.